And so I think that Gen.G, fortunately for them, inside of this 1 week meta, I actually think it's probably going to produce maybe the highest % chance they would likely have at trying to topple SK Telecom here tonight. And if you're SK Telecom, you know, you wonder, well, do we actually need to do any of the Frostmancy shenanigans or any of the special Frostmancy shenanigans that are present in bottom lane that will persist even after the 1 week meta? Taking a look right here between Ruler and Teddy. And this is really the iconic matchup, I think, for me, especially watching this series, is Ruler is such an integral piece to his team, but he's going up against Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you see Gen.G, you immediately think Ruler right now, as a lot of his other lanes have just started struggling. Juve, a guy in this lineup that hasn't won a single match just yet, a single game. With Gen.G, they're going to be bringing him out once again. So an interesting decision there. They're not going to be playing Roach, a guy that has been having more success, even if it hasn't been so much success. Guys like Peanut in the jungle haven't been showing up too much. And Fly himself, it's really just been the bottom lane and mainly the Ruler show for the times that Gen.G are actually able to pick up some wins.
Yeah. Now they're moving out onto the stage. I really got to say that their demeanor, it doesn't look that enthusiastic, if I'm just being honest. I mean, Fly cracking a smile right here as they all bow, but did just look a little bit desolate before they entered onto the stage.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, all the bottom teams, especially some of the teams that have had a lot of success in the past, have been looking like this as they do come in. SKT, you can see some, you know, some faces of confidence, I'd say. Just ready to get into the game. Some small smirks from a bunch of the players here. SKT definitely the favorites coming into this matchup, receiving a big cheer from the audience. We'll see if they can close it out tonight.
I'm curious if Ezreal and the Kleptomancy type shenanigans will be present in tonight's series, or if SK Telecom will just take a more straight up approach. Generally, when you are against a team that you're expecting or assuming to be better than, you don't want to do anything too risky or unorthodox, because for the most part, you just don't need it in order to secure the win. So we're going to be jumping into pick ban in a second here. One last look at the lineups.
Yeah, still the most interesting thing for me is that, you know, Gen.G, I think they only have the one sub in Roach, and he's the only guy that's gotten wins in the top lane, but they're putting their faith in the guy that has a bit more experience on the world stage to come out tonight up against a very strong opponent in SKT, who have been running pretty much the same lineup every single game. These 5 guys going to be jumping onto the Rift once again tonight. Zoe, a pick that has been hopping up in priority, so happy to see Faker do a bit better on that pick as well.
This, I think, is the meta where the mid lane is actually quite powerful.
Yeah.
Now, Kleptomancy is still currently in the game, but a lot of pro players have begun saying that mid lane's power is definitely being more felt in this patch moving forward, especially. Definitely mid and ADC tend to be the focus. We have had some champions leave the top lane in recent patches. Most notably, Urgot did get hit. He's still picked. Akali, Aatrox, Aurelia, these champions, they're getting picked less frequently nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good patch, I'd say, just to shake things up. You know, not just talking about was it a positive change or a negative change. It just means that the games are going to look different, which is always good. You don't want to get that stale meta going, especially with the super tanky guys in the mid lane. I was never a fan of that. Now we get LeBlanc versus Zoe, all sorts of fun stuff. And no doubt we're going to get some more of that here tonight as we jump into pick and ban for game number 1 of Gen.G versus SKT.
Let's take a look at what is going on. Gen.G opened this up with a Galio ban. And even though despite Galio's nerfs, not a lot of people are actually wanting to play him all that much, although he is popping up in the support role nowadays as well. It is still SK Telecom and it is Faker. So a very key champion pick for SK Telecom. And now we'll see what they want to ban away. Karma. SKT basically saying no Klepto shenanigans, at least from her. Jace now banned away against Khan.
Generally a good idea. I'd say. On the idea of the Galio support, it was the one that was picked with Ezreal that went for the Frostmancy. So Galio got the Relic Shield, he was farming up, while Ezreal just sat there and poked and got his own gold through Kleptomancy and Frostmancy. So definitely a pretty strong pick in terms of support, but in other roles as well.
And Lucian now being banned away, met with a Tom Kench by Gen.G. We'll see if SK Telecom follow up actually with Ezreal. Such a powerful ADC on this current patch, but also because the mass mage meta hasn't totally transitioned in yet, he is extremely powerful against a lot of the meta champions in top and jungle, but also just has a fairly easy time scaling up. But instead, it's actually going to be a York being removed, and this does mean that Ezreal is still on the table.
Yeah, Ezreal's still there. It's definitely going to be something that Ruler could consider picking up, and he immediately does. And remember, guys, this is a new patch. There are stuff like the Urgot available, but teams are not prioritizing him as much as some other picks like Ezreal.
And now Thresh, this is, I know a lot of players are thinking that he is probably the premier support right now in the game. He is being hovered by SK Telecom. We'll see if they just, okay, well, they insta-lock the Lee Sin secondary.
Well, it is Klid. You can't really argue with that one. It's his most played. He is unbelievably clean on that pick. So I'm always happy to see Klid hopping onto Lee Sin any day of the week.
Well, and Gen.G now pick up the Urgot for themselves. Still has the ability to go mid or top, despite the changes that he's suffered a little bit. And Klid on the Lee Sin, I mean, 2 of his MVPs has been on that champion.
Okay, interesting pick coming in here. Kalista Thresh returning to the bot lane for Teddy and Mata.
Yep. And arguably still one of the strongest bottom lanes that you can have. And for Teddy and Mata, it's definitely a lane that they can try to exert dominance in against Ruler in life. Now moving into this second ban phase, Nocturne being taken away.
Yeah. Curious to see who they're going to leave the counter pick for. Could be either Faker or Khan on that last pick red side that they could look to take an advantage in a lane with.
Well, here's the thing for SKT is they have options for Zoe counter pick, or they even have a pretty good access to Orianna right now with the Thresh and the Lee Sin. And both of those 2 champions are extremely powerful on the current patch, so I wouldn't be too surprised to actually just see them pick for Khan 4th and then finalize the draft with counter pick into the mid lane to make sure that everything's just secure. Gen.G banning away the Victor, and the reason that you see that is primarily because you look at SK Telecom's team composition. They are very, very heavy on magic damage. The Lee Sin obviously going to be able to put out quite a lot. The Kalista. And with the other options that have been being banned away, I mean, Urgot taken away, York taken away, Jace, there's a limited amount of options for AD damage that can come out of the top lane that's going to be reliable, and there's the Zoe ban.
Yeah, just don't want to deal with the Zoe here, especially after Faker's performance on that one up against King Zone. Just going to totally deny him away from that one, and now Sylas comes in. It can be flexed to mid or top, but Faker did play it in the series. I believe he did take a loss on that one. Yes, he did up against King Zone, but could try his luck once again here tonight. Yeah,
and this is actually really scary because he has 3 beautiful ultimate targets already, and Gen.G about to give him a 4th. So normally when you look at Sylas, you look at him and be like, okay, well, yes, he is able to be this new version of Tank Echo, but the problem is that the enemy team doesn't have enough ultimates to reliably steal. He can end up basically just having only 3 abilities, and that's where it becomes problematic. However, with his scaling and effectiveness, he has access to the Braum ultimate, the Urgot ultimate, the Lissandra ultimate. And all of those 3 ults are actually really key against Gen.G's team composition, even the Xin Zhao ultimate. And now SK Telecom last picking the Corki.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that goes into the mid lane here for Faker. He has played it once, did sustain a loss on that pick before. And that would mean that the Sylas does head up to the top lane here. So definitely an interesting draft from the side of SKT. It's not something that you'd see all the time here with the Corki pick last.
And we have 8 seconds left, and Corki is not okay. There we go. We got the
Faker
swap.
jumping onto mid Kalista. Yeah, I'd love to see that one.
Mid Kalista. And so we'll talk about what both of these team compositions want to do in just a second here. It is very important to know, SK Telecom, they're going to be reliant on Baron. And if they don't have Baron, they're going to need a really big lead to just bulldoze through Tier 2 and Tier 3 turrets. So they're looking for an explosive advantage around the 25, 27-minute mark. And on the flip side for Gen.G, they have a lot of engage opportunity, and it's going to be difficult to actually get Urgot and Altov Fear Beyond Death right into the heart of SKT, and Ezreal will just pick off the stray survivors on the side, and it's going to be very difficult for SKT to get to Ezreal with their team composition. But what SK Telecom's team composition is trying to do, as we look at it right here, you got Sylas, Lee Sin, Corki, Kalista, and Thresh. The Corki offers the poke. That's the other gear that this comp has available to it. Obviously, primary engage with the Sylas and the Lee Sin, but Corki's there to open up the minion waves and try to gain access to the turret. So heavy reliance on the Lee Sin kicks to start off the fights, or Kalista ultimates, but definitely a larger reliance on Baron than Gen.G.
Yeah, should be a fun one here, guys. Let's jump into game number 1 right now. Well, both of these teams having their fan groups coming down here. SKT's, not too surprisingly, was a bit louder, but Gen.G still having that very big core of fans that do come down here every day. It's a long season. You know, we're only heading towards the end of round 1 here, so not even at the halfway point. So Gen.G, they're hoping for a big comeback here in the LCK. Hopefully they can finish somewhere around the middle. But they do have a very strong opponent ahead of them tonight in SKT. And their next matchup is going to be up against Griffin. So definitely a couple of matchups that you're kind of wincing when you look at the calendar here if you are Gen.G.
Definitely. They really want to get this win against SK Telecom. It can probably help rebuild team motivation and obviously spirits within the team as they do progress forward. And so far, Gen.G, I mean, coming into this game, we see, Cuvée doesn't manage to actually get that ward, but the early game is definitely something they have to watch out from. Bottom lane and mid lane are two really, really key points, and that's where Clid most likely is going to be committing all of his attention early on, whereas Peanut, he needs to really be on point with his counter and match ganks until his laners have their level 6 available. That makes it a lot easier for him.
Yeah, and it's all eyes on Ruler. If you are a Gen.G fan, he's been the one sole carry, basically, on the side of Gen.G. And I was looking at the picks that we did have in pick ban for the side of Gen.G. It's a lot of comfort, you know. It's the most picked and most played from the side of Fly. He gets his Lissandra. That was pretty much ignored by SKT. They let him have it. The Urgot also given over to Cuvée. Pretty much any top laner can play that. Cuvée also loving his Urgot. But I'll have to hold that thought as we might. I was a little bit closer.
And I really like what Peanut just did there. He went and immediately got the right-hand side Scuttle Crab so that Clid's not able to do anything with it. It provides the vision that Peanut wants for his mid and bottom lane. We just talked about a second ago. Ran right through mid while Fly had priority.
Absolutely need Peanut to show up, right? I mean, we all know the games of Camille that he showed up here in the beginning of LCK. Everybody that's a fan of him wants to forget that, but it's just an unfortunate reality. We'll see if he can actually make something happen as he's going for a gank in the top lane this time around, but we all know that Sylas can be a little bit slippery here. He's actually going for a trade onto Peanut. Khan not very scared, but still a nice amount of damage there up in the top side against Khan.
It was a good amount of damage, but the thing that you have to look at is that there was more. It was actually at a relatively awkward timing because Khan doesn't mind that, and it actually takes some attention away from Cuvée, and it gave Clid a lot of breathing room.
Definitely did. He knows exactly where he is. He had to essentially give up his Raptors in his red side jungle. Like, okay, I'll go ahead and take your Raptors then. And he's going to be exactly even when it comes to jungle camps for now after that. So, Clid definitely feeling pretty good, as you mentioned.
Right now, Cuvée, he is sustaining quite well up in the top lane. You look at the CS differential across all the lanes. Nothing really too exciting happening yet. Gen.G is ahead in goal.
Have that teleport to get back to lane. He's the Lissandra, so has the ability to just get back and be totally fine after picking up the double Dark Seal. Very standard from him to start off the mid lane tonight.
Peanut now pathing again immediately to that Scuttle Crab. He wants to make sure to pick that up right away. The teleport even from Cuvée comes in to guarantee that even though Lissandra didn't have priority, it wasn't going to matter all that much, as it looked like Faker had a recall in mind. There's going to be no chance of Lee Sin managing to try to steal that away.
Yeah, third Scuttle goes the way of Peanut. We don't have the Scuttle counters of old on the side of Spo TV, but maybe someday we can dream. For now, I'll count it for you guys. Zhao 3 and Lee Sin 0. So Clid just went on a little bit of a visual bug trip there, but he's not going to be going that aggressive. Just spotting out the...
Executioner's calling definitely going to help out quite a lot against the Sylas sustain. We'll see how much it impacts the matchup as this does progress. Sylas is now going to start taking quite a bit of damage.
Good one, and immediately to Fear Beyond Death into Ignite Flash, as easy as you would like. First Blood goes to Cuvée. Wow, good stuff from him.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic and much needed solo kill. Lost out all that much. Take another quick look at this right away. You can see Khan's on a little bit of a cooldown right there. Gets hit directly by the E. And it was at this point Khan probably, well, he didn't quite know yet, but he was about to, that he done goofed, Brendan.
He done goofed real big. I mean, looked like the coaches were even in shock, but definitely happy that that was able to come on in as every single ability landed onto the Sylas. Khan with no ability to get away from that one. The Unsealed Spellbook with the Ignite opens that up for the Urgot as well. Khan didn't have his TP. He misses a big wave in the top lane. I was saying that Cuvée hadn't had a win just yet for Gen.G, but seems like he's trying to turn that around.
I mean, I was looking at Roach's face just now, and it was motionless. He's like, so I'm not getting sucked in.
Yeah. The coaches looked happy,
but... The coaches looked happy. Roach was like, well...
Oh, man. He's like, oh, boy, not the return of Cuvée. This wasn't supposed to happen this early. We usually wait for, you know, the gauntlet here in Korea for that to really turn on. But, yeah. Cuvée looking good in that one kill. For Khan, not the best performance in that one, but Sylas can be tricky. I still get this feeling like all these, you know, players, once a new champion comes out, obviously they're grinding it as much as possible. They're trying to learn all the ins and outs, but how many games exactly can you do before the first week of this actually coming into pro play amongst all the other champions that you have to practice? I feel like, you know, it's going to take a while for everybody to get to that, like, S-tier play level of Sylas just yet.
And like what you're mentioning, it's not even just about how many games can you get in, because, well, hold that thought for a second. Clid trying to get some MVP points.
Here's Clid, there's the kick. He doesn't have his flash, so should be a pretty easy gank. Down he goes, as in goes the Lee Sin real quick for the easy gank.
And Cuvée doesn't have teleport. Minion wave is coming, so they are shoving the wave, and that's why you're seeing Peanut move up to the top lane. Definitely wants to okay. Thought he was going to show himself, but if he did, he certainly would have just gotten clapped. So, fortunate for him, he did not progress any further.
Generally, you don't want to get clapped. That's kind of like the, you know, one of the first rules you learn. Please don't get clapped, as pretty straightforward gank as Cuvée gets baited into a trade, and Lee Sin has the mobility to make the gank work.
Yeah, this was just a very easy and standard gank. There was nothing really that Cuvée could do about it at that point. And so now, Khan is almost restabilized up in top lane. Can't actually quite see the minion HP, but I do believe that the wave is pushing into Khan, so quite fortunate for him as this jungler is on the other side of the map, so it doesn't really matter all that much. Blue handoff about to happen on Faker, but what we were just talking about earlier about Sylas, how many games can you get in on him? You can't just go on a Smurf and low MMR and instantly get Q pops and just keep playing him, because you're not going to learn the matchups the way that they're going to actually be played at the professional level. So while you might be able to just go and play 20 games a day on Sylas on a gold or a platinum ID in Korean solo queue, that doesn't quite prepare you for the real laning phases that you encounter when playing against pro players.
Yeah, you can always beat, you know, a gold player that's not very good at an advantageous matchup against Sylas, whereas a pro might be able to turn it around. I know that Papa's been mentioning that the Sylas is pretty good into the Urgot. Not sure how you feel about that one. Was picked for that matchup, as I'm going to have to hold that thought for now, as Faker thinking about coming in with the poke, has Khan up on the top side, but it's a 2-on-3. That means that no can do. They're just going to have to trade that one for the Cloud Drake here that Clid was picking up.
Clid picks up the Cloud Drake, followed by an Ocean will be the next one, so definitely going to have to give the victory over to Gen.G, getting that Herald. Still 3 minutes on the plates. If they can convert that into plates, it would be extremely big for SK Telecom.
They're making a very wide rotation into the Gen.G jungle. Now they're trying to turn on to Fly, but that aftershock keeping him alive for so long. He goes the true shot barrage, and Khan from behind trying to make it happen, but two members of SKT immediately go down, and here's Cuvee from the top lane. Teddy, he is way too late to get onto this one, and the fear goes down onto Faker. That's 3 kills now that go the way of Gen.G.
Yeah, and this is absolutely catastrophic right now. The Herald's still alive, being summoned right away. This is going to be, I think, the mid-tier 1 turret going. Actually, no, Faker is relatively healthy. No, it's going to go down. Yeah. Whoa.
Hey, he wanted to get after Faker there. Calm down, Mrs. Rift Herald.
What was that?
You can only attack turrets.
Oh, man. Well,
they do save it in the end. It's because, you know, Rift Herald went for Faker and not actually the turret.
So
big mistake.
Gold gap completely swings. Just in a second ago, it was 17.3 versus 17.3. And taking a quick look at this replay, SK Telecom decide that there's no objective on the map, so they want to make a fight happen. And right here, Mata, he tries to do some sort of engage, doesn't end up being able to do anything. Khan says, I'm helping, but the only thing he's helping is the enemy team. As Cuvee about to use Khan's soul to try to get the Fear Beyond Death onto Faker, forcing him to flash away. This is absolutely catastrophic for SK Telecom. There's no dragon. Enemies have Herald. You don't actually have the ability to fight. Your top laner is not in the greatest of positions. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't think they know.
I got that feeling, LS, that they didn't really know what was going on, as it was, you know, we talk about who's the shot caller for the side of SKT, especially on the new team. Definitely Mata was one of the names that we were mentioning, and he was leading the charge to get some really deep and risky wards into the Gen.G jungle. Now, they got those wards down, but then they gave away 3 kills because they were so out of position. I understand trying to get that vision down, but sometimes it's just not worth the trade.
And here's the other problem right now is they're behind as we're about to enter into the mid game, and the lane phase is going to come to a close. The Ezreal is going to be really, really problematic. He's going to have the Iceborne Gauntlet. He's going to be able to get those Ninja Tabbies later. And that's going to make it so difficult for SKT's team composition to do any damage to him. Sylas, building tank, obviously. So even if he does magic damage, it's not going to be all that much. And Ruler is really well positioned right now to take over this game.
To be honest, I mean, this was not what we were expecting. We were expecting SKT to come in and the woes of Gen.G to continue, but a couple of mistakes, and Gen.G, they're still a strong team in Korea. They, you know, they will pounce on your mistakes if you make them, and so far, starting with the solo kill into just immediately getting a couple of more kills after that Drake, it's really looking fantastic for them. Especially for a team that's losing confidence. You love to start off the next game a bit strong.
And the other fortunate thing for Gen.G is their team composition is one that you would most likely suspect to be behind. And the fact that they're ahead right now is going to be really difficult for SKT. We talked about earlier, they have a reliance on Corki being ahead if they're going to try to capture turrets. And now, when they're falling behind, it's unlikely that you're going to assume that they're going to be in a position to capture Baron. And so how does the SK Telecom team composition actually recover? Well, you can't just rely on Corki Poke, because Ezreal's going to do it just a little bit better. And now you're going to be on the back foot of trying to coordinate Lee Sin and Kalista plays, and it's going to be really, really hard.
It definitely will. We've seen many an SKT game that rested on the shoulders of Faker. We'll see if he can actually make it happen on the Corki this time around when his team is behind. And, well, the Sylas in the top lane being 0-2 obviously does not help things out very much. Looks like he's going to pick up a Sheen, going for that Iceborne Gauntlet, but he's not quite able to get there just yet. as that build very, very slow. At least for SKT, after that first Drake, the next one is an Ocean, so they can essentially just throw that one away and say, you know, it's not a big deal because we don't really want to fight right now.
Yeah, exactly. So fortunately for SKT, next Dragon, not something that you have to lose sleep over. And they really wanted to pick up onto Cube right there, but not able to find anything. Teddy gonna have to take a Lantern out. This Dragon's gonna go right over to Gen.G.
Yeah. You can see how fast they wanted to start that one. Clid gets slowed down here. Doesn't really have an ability to get away. Has to use his kick. Fly could have come in from the mid lane, but just a little bit too far away from that one. And unfortunately, Clid forced to use some ultimates to even survive after that play.
And now, next Dragon of the game coming up, going to be another Cloud Drake. And you just look at the bottom wave that Gen.G has right now. They have mid priority. They already have vision inside the blue hand side jungle of SK Telecom. This is going to be an easy bottom tier 1 pickup. SK Telecom, they acknowledge that and say, you know what, we're going to at least try to get tempo on the rotation top lane. So that's why you see Kalista and Thresh headed up there. But with more turrets falling, this is the opposite of what is good for the SK Telecom team composition. And Gen.G, they're really running away with this early to mid transition.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good feels on the side of Gen.G. They're already 4,000 gold ahead, only 17 minutes into the game. So definitely a big change around after their early start here in the LCK. Clid gonna find an Urgot, but it is an Urgot, so they're not going to do much. They're just going to send Teddy to push up in the top side. I wanted to kind of ask you, we were seeing Corki a little bit faker before the changes to some of the crit items, but what do you think about Corki's build after some of the 9.3 changes?
Well, Corki came back mostly because the change to his R, but I also think that it's just sort of a very specific pick for SK Telecom, for Faker in specific. After the 9.3 changes, though, I'm not sure that it mixes up his build all that much. I mean, he does have access now to Phantom Dancer, so that he's able to have that shield, which can definitely help with making him annoying with trying to kill. But in this type of a game, that's not something that he really has to worry about all that much, because that's not how the fights are going to conduct themselves. And right now, I mean, almost a 4,000 gold lead here for Gen.G. No neutral objectives really coming up in the next couple of minutes that either team can really eye down.
It doesn't really feel like Gen.G's composition has the fastest Baron damage either, so it's not like they can really go for an early rush, especially with no Mountain Drakes or any shenanigans like that coming up here. The Kalista is on SKT's side. That's also been nerfed a bit as well. So we'll have to wait and see. We might have a little bit of a lull here, LS, in the middle of this game, unless Gen.G can find some picks in the mid-game.
Oh, here comes Silas.
Yeah, speaking of picks, we're going to have 3 members of SKT attempt to get on top of the Urgot there. This is something you can do, especially when, as you mentioned, there's not too many objectives. But unfortunately, because of that, we will have that early rotation by Gen.G up to the top side, and they might be able to get this top turret a little bit faster than expected.
Yeah, and right now Silas busy trying to shove out bottom lane. Khan does have teleport available, but it does look like the top tier 1 as well is conceded to Gen.G. The gold lead approaches almost 5,000 now. We're not even at 20 minutes, and we're talking about a 5,000 gold lead. You would think that's actually what SK Telecom's team composition would almost want.
Yeah.
Just to be slightly ahead of the Gen.G one. Baron coming up in 13 seconds, but neither team really going to be in a position to try to capture it. And so, as you were mentioning, Brendan, I do think that we probably are just going to be in a lull state. So, you know, maybe come back in 7 minutes or so.
Take the dog for a walk, maybe go make some popcorn. What are some other things you can do in 7 minutes? You can go make a post on your favorite community website about these fantastic games we're having here.
Yeah, definitely could.
You could create a new copy pasta. That's also a very fun thing. I know a lot of our viewers love to do that.
They definitely love pasta.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well. All right, 6.5 remaining. until this is gonna come to an end. Yeah. Not gonna lie to any of the viewers watching right now. Nothing should happen.
You know, we wouldn't want to insult their intelligence, right?
Right.
We know that they're all very intelligent viewers that understand what's going on. And I suppose Teddy has picked up his 2-item core. Has that?
The only chance something happens
second item
right now is if Faker runs off Fountain with that big package or the package, whatever, and he Leroy Jenkins it.
I mean, it is pretty big, right?
It is quite big.
You can describe it that way. Not, you know, not that I would ever do that, LS, but
absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
I'd pause to correct you, but you know,
I feel like this package it's just gonna make him go faster on the map and not really do anything. He tried to engage with that onto the Urgot the last time, and then he was like, "Oh wait, yeah, that's Urgot. I forgot that we didn't pick or ban that one."
Oh.
Okay, this is actually an opportunity as well. Fly is playing Lysandra, so it looks like he is going to be totally fine. But having Clid up here means that perhaps they will be able to take this top turret. Down it will go in the trade for the second Cloud Drake, the first one that goes to the way of Gen.G, with an Infernal coming next.
And the Infernal is actually a pretty key point, and I did say 27 minutes.
You know, it lines up perfectly.
Lines up perfectly. I gotta turn the page, give me a second.
Yeah. What's next on the script after that one?
Another Infernal.
Okay.
Yeah, just so you know.
You're not gonna spoil anything else.
No,
right?
No, nothing else is gonna be spoiled.
I think some level of excitement in this game. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, we're just going to keep it, you know, calm and steady. All right, so Gen.G may be looking for something, but realistically, you look around the map, and there's not really anything to fight over. The lane states are all extremely ugly. There's a lot of jungle camps up on the side of Gen.G. Lysandra probably wants to get into Zanya's Hourglass. Ezreal wants to complete his next item. And even though we have some core item completions on both sides, SK Telecom's items aren't as strong as Gen.G's, and so they shouldn't be looking to fight. But also, Gen.G's champions aren't yet strong enough to just perforate tier 2 turrets and say, hey, we're just going to go balls to the wall and take you down.
Yeah, it's all of those things combined that create this lull state. No big objectives, no turrets being really available to take. Very passive play from SKT. That means that we'll just kind of sit here until Gen.G do have the opportunity to take one of those objectives. We were taking a look at some of the vision that was in some of the jungles in the red side earlier on. Gen.G, in fact, didn't really have all that much. SKT was doing a very good job of just keeping a good defensive vision line to, you know, make sure there weren't that many deep wards in the red side jungle. There's a lot more vision in the blue side jungle for Gen.G on the side of SKT.
If you're SK Telecom right now, with Dragon still 3 minutes away, you don't really need any vision in your blue side jungle. There's no blue objective that's going to be coming up. Silas is just going to be underneath turret, but QV not going to be able to kill him, so the real only priority that you need to concern yourself with is making sure that you don't get Baron cheesed right now. And so right now they're working as a unit to try to clear out vision all around the map, and now Faker moving back up into top lane to catch the wave that Fly just sent in.
You can see QV and Gen.G attempting to make a pick happen on this side as well. He has Cleanse. He's going to be totally fine up against that one. I suppose the trade does go the way of Fly, but Faker can get that health back relatively easily.
They steal away the Cleanse from him, which could end up proving to be crucial around the Dragon fight. Faker looking like he wanted to recall right there, but Peanut had different plans in mind.
Yeah.
Gen.G, they're in a fantastic position right now. Nothing is happening. But the more that nothing happens, the more it's actually beneficial for Gen.G rather than SK Telecom. Mata going for a hook, but you're not allowed to take that hook anyway, even if you land it.
Well, how about a double man play? They're really getting in there. Sinja ultimate taken by Khan. But the rest of Gen.G able to get out of there with actually none of their summoners taken away.
Yeah, you're not allowed to take the hook. So, SK Telecom not aware that they're actually not allowed to poke the bear right now. Mata might not realize that yet. He might need a second dosage of it.
You know,
but Dragon coming up in a minute and a half. This is really, really good for Gen.G. They have priority in mid. We're going to get some chip damage here onto the tier 2.
I mean, because of that play, you just give up so much. You give away double flash, multiple secondary summoners as well. You give an opportunity for Ezreal to get a bunch of chip damage, as you were saying, and it definitely felt like that was Mata saying go, go, go. And I mentioned it before in the early game. He was kind of the one leading the charge into the enemy jungle, so maybe a little bit too feisty tonight is Mata. Might just need to take a chill pill here.
Yeah, a little calm down. And SK Telecom, I mean, they are coming, or Faker's coming off of a recall right now. Dragon's coming up in 40 seconds, and that's a really, really high priority objective for both of these teams to pick up. I would actually say a little bit more so for Gen.G. They definitely have 4 champions that can make use of it fully. Same can't be said for SK Telecom.
Faker with the package right now, able to farm in front of 4 members, essentially, of Gen.G, able to counter the push in that way. Just going to eat that to the face, but nothing much going to happen. Believe he's going to be going for an Infinity Edge here next. So would have loved to have that item right now, but fortunately hasn't been able to quite get there just yet.
And this is really interesting. Gen.G, they could have just immediately started the Dragon, but seems like they were actually trying to potentially offer SK Telecom an invitation to try to come fight, in which case it would actually go catastrophically for them. And so SK Telecom saying, you know what, no, you can have the Dragon. And after this one, we'll get another one. Give us a second here.
You definitely... Oh,
and the
what is going
present.
on, LS?
I am back to the LCK casting
Stop
team
telling
here.
people the script. That's confidential.
So, you know.
It's a big deal, too, because SKT, they're the definition of, okay, we're just not going to fight you, especially after that Flay play went horrifically wrong. You can give away 1 Infernal, but a second Infernal?
No.
I don't really know if you can do that, especially as the game goes later and you get more and more items.
Yeah, and the other thing is Ezreal is so obnoxious with Infernal Drakes because of his hybrid itemization.
Yeah.
This ends up being so powerful. And this is a really, really rough spot to be in right now for SK Telecom because it's so much more difficult to execute their team composition than it is for Gen.G. Gen.G, sort of like a Protoss death ball right now. They just sort of have to attack move through SK Telecom, and it's really on SK Telecom to be on their game and kite around and use the poking of Corki to create enough openings for their own teammates to be safe.
So what poker hand is SKT holding right now? What other analogy do you have right now for SKT in this situation?
SK Telecom's definitely a Jack 10.
A
right
Jack
now.
10, yes.
Jack 10, yeah.
You know, can be good in some situations, but definitely requires a specific situation to really find the power in that one.
They're up against Pocket Kings.
Oh, well,
so, you know.
Has the flop hit yet, or are we not sure?
Oh, we're way past it. We're going to the river, so SK Telecom, they're going to need to suck out, which might be what SKT stands for at this point. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, boy. Well, I mean, the poking of the Corki can get pretty insane as the game goes along. You were mentioning how Ezreal is similar, but especially if you hit a couple of big missiles onto a squishy target like an Ezreal, someone like that, they can kind of suck out, as you were saying, and maybe take a fight from behind.
Yeah.
But it's going to require, you know, maybe some mistakes from Gen.G or a very positive situation for the side of SKT.
And I think if you're Gen.G and you're looking at this game right now, you're saying to yourself, okay, hey, we have a really big gold advantage right now. We're also going to keep accumulating level differences between us and them. And we can just wait for another Infernal in 2 minutes. We don't have to do Baron because SK Telecom can't really do Baron.
Yeah. You know they would love to. I mean, they do have some really nice damage with the Corki and the Kalista, but do they have much else? Fly, a bit of trouble there, but a nice Glacial Path gets him to safety.
Ezreal continuing to charge up to his Seraph's Embrace.
The what?
Seraph's Embrace.
Seraphs?
Don't make me do this. I'll do it.
Couple of F's in the...
I will do it.
S-E-R-A-F-F-F. S.
All right. Rule R here in the mid lane now.
Yeah.
trying to just push the wave in. It's met by Teddy. Minute and a half now only until.
I thought the lull state was supposed to end at 27 minutes. What happened there? We're like in a
No.
4-minute extension here.
Hold on here.
Just like extra innings or something like that.
I gotta confirm. Hold on. I'm getting a 34 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. 35 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Here's what I'm reading.
So set your clocks, guys.
Yep.
35 minutes, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So just about 4 minutes away from the action. We're not too far away.
So just waiting until that happens. Maybe take a quick cat nap.
That's a very quick cat nap.
What we're getting right now is we're sort of preparing ourselves for Gen Air later on tonight. So,
oh boy,
just trying to get this endurance
bringing
test.
out the shade real early on Gen Air already, as if they haven't sustained enough.
I mean, I thought Silas was Christian Grey with how this game was going. He's got those chains on him already.
Oh man.
So, well.
Yeah, for Gen Air, they do have to go up against who is that? That's Sandbox? No, it's DAMWON later on tonight. So that is going to be the second matchup tonight. If you guys are looking forward to that one, definitely tune in. We'll still be here.
We'll be here until tomorrow. Are you kidding?
So, okay, this is actually something big. We do have this second Infernal, and it looks like SKT is ready to fight. They're not just going to give this one away for free. Baker taking a little bit of damage before the fight does start here.
That's what you think, Brendan.
They just go out the back door here.
Right.
We do have Fly up in the top side. The teleport does come in. They do see this happening, and they just want to turn immediately onto Fly, but he gets into the back line. But he is going to ultimate himself down. Clid not in a great spot, and Khan taking a ton of damage as well. Is going to re-engage, but he, alongside Thresh, will go down, as well as Teddy. They tried to force the fight, and they're going to pay big time for it. 3 kills and another Infernal Drake.
Yeah, that's going to be another Infernal. They're going to easily convert this into a Baron capture. And the only way that Gen.G could manage to lose this is something absolutely catastrophic happening. And that would be the only way that SK Telecom can keep themselves in this game. And Corki going to try to do his best to try to poke them down. But Peanut still has his flash available. Cube even has one to boot. Or Smites.
Yeah, Smite.
A caster, by the way. So thought I'd let you guys know that.
Wow. And they don't even really need to look at the Baron. They could just poke them away, and SKT is going to have no hope.
Yeah.
No chance in hell in getting near that objective right now. Clid thinking about it for about a millisecond there, and then he decides against it as Gen.G, they pick up Infernal, and they pick up the Baron, looking fantastic in this game 1.
Yeah, and taking another quick look at this, this is David versus Goliath, what, you know, maybe should have happened. As SK Telecom, they're trying to make something happen, but they're not going to be able to. You need Corki to just deal a massive amount of damage before this fight even tries to progress, and when he doesn't do it, like I was saying, Protoss Death Ball, it just moves right through you. And Ezreal, I mean, it's like the Colossus. It's just raining down lasers onto everything.
Yeah.
And it was just all too easy for them to just bulldoze right through SKT.
Yeah. I did like the play from Fly. He was going to be collapsed upon, but he immediately joined the real fight. He wasn't going for a flank. He wasn't getting the Zergs around or anything like that. He was going straight to the front of that one, avoided the Corki, and said, I'm getting right in your face.
And we're coming right up on that minute. This is where the sparks are about to fly. You ready?
Yeah. You know,
we're getting there.
A little bit closer with your 34-15, but...
Whoa. Don't try to interrupt this.
Okay. 25 seconds to the action, as it's just 3 lanes being pushed really heavily by the side of Gen.G. Got Ruler and Life in the mid lane. We got Fly and Peanut kind of hanging around the top side, and then that top lane action. Oh, there's the hook. I mean, that was close. That was, you know, we got a little bit of action.
Hold on. All right, it's about to start. They're just warming up, you know? You're gonna warm up the car in the winter?
True, yeah. So this is like the beginning of the phase where the action is gonna happen, something like that? Yeah. Start with the cannon going down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well,
Silas in the live screen at the bottom left. His best to sustain against the Urgot.
Yeah. Hook is going to go wide as Gen.G are just bulldozing their way through this base right now. Ruler just raining hell on the side of SKT, and two champions that when they get behind look very unimpressing are Silas and Corky, and both SKT have both of those champions right now, and they're feeling really good about that one. The ult goes down onto Faker, but he cleanses late and he can't get away from the True Shot barrage, doesn't even flash it, as he will go down, and as if they even needed that pick, Gen.G looking to end this game.
Yeah, and this was almost a perfect game from Gen.G, where they're definitely going to be able to raise these two turrets.
Well,
and there's nothing SK Telecom can do. We're just going to go right into game 2.
Mata trying his best, but everybody's going to be going down here. Pick up the clean ace before we even get into this one. Game 1 will go the way of Gen.G. Very big surprise, not what we were expecting coming into this matchup up against SKT or the Titans when you consider them up against Gen.G.
Yeah, and this is a massive upset here in game number 1. There's Fly on your screen after having just piloted that Lissandra. Piloted it into the Corky. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. You know, give that like a B-.
All right. B-, no big deal.
Yeah.
SKT, I mean, they had a team composition that needed to get ahead early. There was pressure on the Lee Sin to create opportunities for his teammates, but right from the get-go, fell behind in the jungle, fell behind in tempo, and SKT couldn't do anything. And then after the first couple of kills and that massive swing, because Mata had a bright idea.
Yeah, he had a couple of them this series, or in that game at least, LS as... I mean, that's not the SKT you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing Klid get great ganks, get the game ahead for his team. Yeah. Teddy begin to pop off in the mid-game on some kind of an 80 carry, but and you know, Mata make big plays, but none of that happened here in game 1.
Nothing really went their way, and their team composition, when it falls behind, it has very little wiggle room to try to recover. And if the enemy team ever gets Baron, it's just over for poke comps. There's almost nothing they can do to try to survive and salvage their base, and that's just what we ended up seeing.
Yeah, so bit of an unfortunate one there for SKT, but it definitely makes the series a lot more interesting in a weird sort of way. This was one series you look at, and immediately I go, okay, 2-0 SKT. But now, Gen.G come out swinging, and 21,000 damage from the side of Ruler, who kind of just sat back and rode the train and got really fed and did a bunch of damage and carried the team. So nicely done there.
And I think that it was actually, I do think that for a lot of teams, giving away Ezreal like that doesn't really make all that much sense, especially not when one of the main pillars of the team is their AD carry.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to give Ruler Ezreal. We were talking about that in the pick ban. Was it the reason that SK Telecom just lost this game? No, it wasn't. But it is something to look at, especially going into game number 2. But I do believe SK Telecom now will be on the blue side. They will have first pick, and we'll see if Gen.G make the same mistake.
Yeah,
of giving away Ezreal.
Definitely one of those champions we've been calling out for a while, that he is a bit overtuned, especially in the amount of damage that he can do and how safe he is. Either way, guys, we'll have to see what happens in game number 2 after a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
20살, 그것은 치열한 전투. 우리를 억압하는 모든 것으로부터 우리 자신을 지켜낼 뜨거운 혈투. 그게 바로 20살 우리의 캐리, 우리의 버프. 우리은행이 내일보다 더 빛날 20살 우리의 오늘을 응원합니다.
This is for those who dare to stand up, for those who dare to make a difference. Get ready for battle and join the Republic of Gamers.
이 혹독한 훈련에서 살아남은 의자만이 CDG의 의자가 되니까. 때론 지나친 고집이 정말 좋은 것을 만드니까 의자가 인생을 바꾼다.
CDG